Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Enlightening Your Way. My name is Nancy Lombardo, and I am the host of the show. We are airing on the Lilydale Assembly official Facebook page and YouTube channel. I'm a year-round resident here in Lilydale and the president of the Church Living Spirit, which is an independent spiritualist church here on the grounds of Lilydale. I'm a military veteran, retired police detective, fitness and yoga instructor, and wellness is my passion. This show is a combination of my many life experiences that features various topics and guests to help enrich our mind, body, and soul on our pathway to healthy living. My Facebook page, Wellness with Nancy Lombardo, where my motto is protecting and serving your well-being. And I'm so excited to introduce our special guest for this evening. Patty Stovall is an international spiritualist, grief coach, and certified master teacher with more than 20 years experiences. She uses her skills and abilities to offer empowerment and comfort to those seeking guidance, healing, and self-awareness. Having lost her daughter in 2021, Patty understands grief on a personal level. Patty is now the Chief Executive Officer, CEO, and founder of the nonprofit Sounds of Sarah, providing a variety of prevention, education, and public services that focus on the dangers of illicit fentanyl, counterfeit drugs, and addictions, hoping to raise awareness on the drug epidemic and mental health crisis. And check out the website at soundsofsarah.org. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So there's so much to talk about on this subject, I don't even know where to start. But what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, for the viewers that don't know you, and I know you were on my show a couple of years ago, if you would mind sharing the story of your beautiful daughter, Sarah.
Sure. So Sarah was 33 when she lost her life to illicit drug poisoning. Sarah started using pills when she was diagnosed with scoliosis, probably in her late teens, early 20s, right around that time, right before she had her children. So she was part of that pill era when people were being prescribed opioids. But we also have a family history of addictions in our family. So there was a pre-genetic disposition for her. My parents are recovering 47 years, and my brother's also recovering. So we have a lot of addictions, that tendency in our family. But she knew what recovery was, so that wasn't surprising to her. But she became addicted to opioids. And then there was a lapse in time that she was clean. And then she kind of got caught up in that after she had her children with some people. And the last 3 years of her life, she was really caught up in the hard drugs. And then, well, she had some clean time there for about 9 months. Someone gave her something that she didn't know was laced with fentanyl, a large dose of fentanyl, as a matter of fact, 43 mgs of fentanyl, that took her life. She didn't have a chance at all. And so that was really difficult for us, but that was right at that beginning, right around the COVID time, when we were losing quite a few individuals to fentanyl.
Well, and that amount of fentanyl is just unbelievable. Most people probably don't realize it's the tip of a pencil that can actually kill you. I know you have some of the statistics on your website. Are you familiar with those off the top of your head?
Well, it's just a few grains of salt that can take your life. Fentanyl, it's 50 times more potent than heroin. It's just a little tiny bit that can take your life. And yeah, it's not a lot at all. It's laced in just about everything that's out there. Pills, powder, they're putting it in everything. And we've lost over 100,000 individuals pretty much yearly. Up until just recently have we started to see a decline in loss of life last year, but probably close to 500,000 individuals since COVID.
I think the irony of all this is that I believe me and you, when we first met each other, we had become very good friends for the fact that we were both advocates about suicide and helping people and, bringing awareness to that. And then you went through this unbelievable tragedy with your daughter, and all of a sudden I think it kind of turned your world upside down. It didn't it definitely turned your world upside down and took you in a whole different trajectory of where you thought you would be to this day, I'm sure.
Yeah. I tell people all the time that I believe like my spiritual journey has really prepared me in a lot of ways for what had happened to me, because I don't know if I could have survived that loss without my spiritual foundation, because I did lose Sarah just 4 months after I became a master teacher. And so that was a lot. That whole year of preparing myself spiritually was really had helped me in my journey after, because even with the grief that I had dealt with, which was as a mom and as a human, was devastating, devastating. It still prepared me for what I'm doing today.
I think a spiritual based foundation definitely helps many people, and sometimes it's more hard for people that don't have any kind of foundation to go to at all. They're just completely lost, nowhere to turn to, nothing to ground them. Yeah. How did you originally come up with the idea of, I love the Sounds of Sarah? Where did the name come from, the idea?
Well, I believe that it spoke to my soul that I said this the other day, that we had probably had this agreement that this was our journey to help people, because I do believe that her and I are doing this together to save lives, and it's her voice.
100%. I mean, 100%. Yeah. Since becoming involved, now you just made mention to this, the numbers were rising because fentanyl is just so prevalent, being brought into this country in crazy amounts. But you said recently you saw last year there's a decline. What do you believe is causing this decline?
Mm-hmm. I do believe that the education and awareness has been key, but I also believe that the resources that we're providing to our community, the naloxone that we're helping to get out to the community, is saving lives and giving those individuals a chance to live. And get into treatment, possibly to have a chance to live. I do truly believe that, because back when we lost Sarah, those resources were just becoming available. People were not carrying that, even though Sarah was, and I did Narcan her a few times, but now everyone is carrying that. Everyone is being educated about fentanyl. So I do believe that the more education, the more awareness that we're doing is helping to save lives.
Oh, 100%. Getting the word out there,
Mm-hmm.
education, I totally believe that too. The Narcan, is there any statistics, do you know, of how many lives it's actually saved?
I don't know that. I wish we could find the numbers.
Interesting number, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I wish we could find the numbers, but I do know in our community, in our state, where we are seeing the numbers decline. I do know nationally we are seeing the numbers decline tremendously over the last year. So,
Well, I know you've been a huge advocate. What do you call your machines that you put all around?
we have vending machines and we have naloxone boxes that we're putting out. Fortunately, we are raising funds to purchase those in our community to put out, because some of the funding has been reduced, but we're continuing to do so. And we are fortunate that in our state, we do have naloxone still available to distribute. We distributed over 10,000 last year. So we're really keeping at that to make sure that everyone is equipped to have that on every business, every job site, every family has that. Because the thing is, this is not only about addiction today. This is about, some young people who maybe go out and party and they think they can take one thing, and maybe that one thing is laced with fentanyl and that takes their lives. And young people today should not die from a mistake or, from taking one thing, from experiencing experimental usage. So we're making sure that everyone is equipped with it.
And I love that we're talking about this month, because this is prom time, this is graduation time, and
it's mental health awareness month.
Oh yeah, and that too, I love that too. And everything rises, and you said just on a dare, or why don't you try this, and you don't even know what's in this. And sadly, the children, the kids, they do it just on a dare, not knowing what's in it, not knowing what they're taking, and it could have a deadly result to them, just a deadly result. What have you learned about fentanyl throughout the years?
Well, we've learned that fentanyl is not only what's taking lives today as well. Things are being mixed in with fentanyl. Xylazine has also become prevalent, which is a animal horse tranquilizer. So carfentanil is also being used, which is even more potent than fentanyl, stronger. We have nitazines that are being mixed in with fentanyl. So not only that, there's a cocktail of drugs that are being used, which is quite scary, because for toxicologists, it's hard to determine what's the specific cause sometimes, because there is such a mix of drugs that are being used in these loss of lives. So it's pretty scary today what's out there.
Yeah, and money-based, completely money-based, and
driven by money, yes.
And life doesn't matter. Life doesn't matter. It's all about the money, and that's just sad. I noticed on your website you make reference to the illegal online pharmacies. Can you talk a little bit about that, what you've learned about those?
So as the borders become a little bit more strict, also, these young kids are purchasing these drugs on social media. There is some families that have gone after some of our social media sites, and also these online pharmacies that is, you can order it and have it delivered to your house like a pizza, and it's quite scary. But these online pharmacies are being created, sales are being done, and then they shut down as fast as they go up, so that they're not being caught by DEA or, your online people that, go after these people that are selling drugs online. So, but yes, they're not FDA regulated.
It's so hard to keep up with too.
It is very hard to keep up with, and they're shipping them in over the border, and then they're creating them, and they're not being tracked, and it's very scary. It's very scary. So if it's not prescribed by your doctor and bought at a pharmacy, please do not purchase things from those online pharmacies.
Yeah, that's just simply said and easy to follow. It's the same thing what's going on with the human trafficking, trying to track all that online. It's just overwhelming. It's overwhelming. There's so much, and there's not enough people being able to work this or track these to stop it enough to make a difference. We're making a difference, but can continue to make differences for sure. Continue. Were you the one that was solely responsible for your Sounds of Sarah for starting these Narcans in all the places in your state?
No, so we do have an agency called Overdose Lifeline. They are in Indianapolis here in our state, and she is the one that lost her son, Aaron. So she has Aaron's Law, is a Good Samaritan law. So each state has a Good Samaritan law, which allows our uh, each of us to administer Narcan. Our liaison, like you can administer it. So each state has a different Good Samaritan law, which if you go to my website, you can click on that Good Samaritan link. It'll take you to your state, and you can check your own state for your Good Samaritan law, whatever that is. In our state, we can administer. So if I think someone's having an overdose and I give them Narcan and they're not, it's okay. It's not going to hurt them, but we can administer that as a lay person in our state. But she lost her son Aaron in 2018, I believe, and she started that Good Samaritan law, and she has Overdose Lifeline, and she is the one that has the grant that distributes all of our Narcan in our state. And then she also got a grant to distribute 19 vending machines under the governor's law, under the governor's Department of Mental Health. And I got one of those vending machines here in our county.
Yeah, I love that.
The naloxone boxes, we don't have the funding, so Sons of Sarah has purchased those for our county. Now we purchase those, but we work with Overdose Lifeline quite a bit. I have a very good relationship with them.
In the states where anybody can use this and give it to somebody suffering an overdose, what are the reasons you've heard of why they would be afraid to do it?
Lack of training, maybe, but most states have something on their maybe Department of Health or maybe their state Department of Mental Health have some type of training videos. You can go find a training video on how to administer it. It is a nasal spray. It's pretty simple. There's so many videos on how to administer it. It's not that difficult. We give it away without any training. People come and take it out of our vending machines and boxes, and we just give it to everyone to make sure they have it, because if somebody's having an overdose, you're going to react pretty quickly to just do what you need to do. In our little kits, we have a little bit of information that's in there to tell people how to do it. You can give it to a pet. You can give it to a newborn all the way up to a senior. We know that, our police officers here use it on their canines because sometimes a canine can sniff something and it could be a drug. And so they have used it on canines here as well.
Is there any effect if you were to give it to somebody that wasn't actually having an overdose?
No, it doesn't hurt them at all. It may make them a little bit nauseous or a little sick to their stomach, but no, it would not hurt anyone.
But I think, like you said earlier, in the long run, it's saving lives. It's
Correct.
just saving lives. Where this wasn't available, I don't even know how many years this has been available. Not very long.
No.
But I think it definitely contributes to that decreasing number that we're seeing, which is a blessing. Which is a blessing to so many people, for sure.
Correct. I think that's my biggest thing, is to be sure that we continue to have that. Hopefully I will continue to have funding for that, so that we can not see those numbers go back up.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Totally. So I got to say that what you've done with Sound of Sarah, what I've watched you do with it, in the relatively short period of time it's been in existence, has been less than miraculous. How do you feel, or why do you feel this nonprofit has exploded in the way that it has?
Well, I think that having had the personal experience of grief, and being able to connect to other families from that level has really made a difference. Keeping the face alive of somebody who has lost their life to this is so important to a family because the stigma and the guilt and shame that comes along with losing someone to an addiction, or even just even by accident, because they seem to blame themselves, the families, and to let them know that that they're not alone. My motto is like, you're not alone, and your person matters, because we know that even when we lose someone we love, grief is hard, and it's not talked about enough, and it never goes away. And so when we can learn to love people through their grief and allow them to grieve and to be there for them and to honor their loved ones no matter what, I think that that's where my community has embraced Sounds of Sarah, because that's what we do here. And we do that. We just do that.
And you've gotten law enforcement involved, you've gotten
Mm-hmm.
DEA involved. I mean, you've gotten everybody involved. And, working at the law enforcement side of it as a narcotics detective, I mean, I definitely saw the families dealing with addiction. And you're right, it was a source of embarrassment, I would say, to them, or really, I think it was just throwing up their hands like, what do we do? What do we do? It's a hard situation to be involved in as a family member, and that's a hard thing to watch. And then when it ultimately takes the life of somebody, like you said, then you got all that grief and that guilt. And you're right, it's not talked about enough. It's definitely not talked about enough. So what do you say to people dealing with this type of grief?
Find your tribe. I always say find your tribe in any grief. I always say, if you've lost a spouse, find people who've lost spouse. If you've lost a pet, you find people who've lost a pet. If you've lost a child, find people who've lost a child. If you've lost a child to this, find people who've lost, because you need to have that connection to start feeling to heal, because healing is what's going to help you to move forward in your life. When we stay stuck in grief, it has such a profound effect on our life, on our physical and our mental. And, there's a lot of things. There's this ripple effect that's coming from this opioid epidemic. We have 1.9 million children that are left behind from this loss of, families, parents who have died and leaving children behind. My daughter left 2 children behind, and we have grandparents raising grandchildren now. What about all these children who are grieving the loss of their parent, that are now moving into these teenage years, who maybe haven't had the mental health treatment that they needed, or the grieving that they have. Fortunately, my grandchildren have always had that counseling, that support, but who knows what's going to happen when they move into their teen years, and they don't have a mother. Their mother's gone. What's going to happen are, the choices that they make. And so the ripple effect of this is coming. It's coming to our country from those that are left behind. And so we need to be prepared for that. And there's other things that it will be happening.
Was that 1.9 million? Is that American number? Just in the United States number?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. From 2019, I believe.
That's a huge number. It's a huge number. And then, like you said, coming from addiction, and you have to be careful of that what I'm trying to say, the way it rolls, from generation to generation. You have to be very careful of that aspect of it.
And if the parents haven't grieved and taken care of themselves, that just is a perpetual rolling effect on the rest of the family, So, yeah, it can have a profound effect on the future of those children, or because one loss of life in any family affects 8 people in grief. So when we lose someone, even in regular grief, it affects 8 individuals: grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles,
Right.
8 individuals in a family at the core, to continue on. So that feeling of healing has to happen in order to have movement, and some healthy movement.
I think we touched base on this a second before we came on today, that there is no time limit on grief, is there?
Mm-mm. It's a lifetime. Grief is something we must embrace in our life, and it will stay with us forever. It's not something we get over. It's not something that goes away. We lose a parent or a child or a pet, and something can trigger us 20 years down the road. A song, a card, a letter, something that someone does can bring up that emotion in us like if it happened yesterday. And so we have to embrace our grief. It changes us when we lose a parent. It changes us when we lose anyone we love. It's our society that struggles with grief and says, we need to move on and get over this. And that's not the case at all.
That's so true. You're so right. 'Cause I know some people, well, they died a year ago. You think they'd be over it by now? Sometimes people make crass statements like that. Or how long does grief last? There's no time limit.
Correct.
And I'm sure here in Lilydale, as you know, there's so many people that come here grieving, and so many people seeking healing. And there are people that have lost people years ago, and they're still dealing with grieving. And it's the ability to embrace everybody at where they're at. Where they're at.
Absolutely.
That makes it so important, for sure.
Absolutely.
Do you feel there's a path from going from the grief to healing, or is it all in the same?
I believe that when people are heard and people feel a part of, they become more comfortable in their grief. I think our grief needs to be witnessed. And when it is witnessed and we feel a part of, then we can move back into moving forward. Not everyone in the family needs to be a part of our grief. Sometimes, my family, my parents aren't a part of my grief healing because they are grieving themselves their own way. And, we expect people in our family to be there for us. And that's not the case. Sometimes that's not the people that need to be there for us. It's other people that understand our grief. Grief is very much a personal healing journey. Even those that understand our grief are on their own pain path. But when we are around others who can say, I understand that, I hear you, it's almost like a relief. Like, boy, I can walk out this door and I know somebody really heard me. And that's all that matters sometimes.
Well, I totally agree with that, especially someone in the grieving process. Sometimes it's just good just to be a good ear, just to listen. You don't even have to say a word. You just need to listen. Like you said, they need to be heard. They want to be heard of where they're at, and you meet them where they're at. And you sometimes have to say a word, and it's the most comforting thing of all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've had some moms who came to my embrace group who have held in their grief for 3 years. And she said, I haven't talked about it at all. And this is the first time I've talked about it. And I can't believe I'm in a room of moms who understand me. This is the best thing ever. And she's been to every event that I've had. She's been a part of. She brought all of her family to her walk, and she felt like her family supported her for the first time because she felt supported by us. And so when she started to come out, because she felt supported, other people supported her.
Right.
And so I think that when you start to feel supported in your own self, other people can feel supporting around you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that story. That's a great story for sure.
Yeah.
So where do you see Sounds of Sarah going in the future?
Well, we're going nowhere except right here in our county.
I
I heard
building,
something.
building into more.
Yes.
You're not
Well,
going anywhere. Thank God.
I have something that the DEA said when he was here for my open house that really sticks for me. And he, him and I have worked together for the last 2.5 years, and we do a lot of things together in the community. And he said that Sounds of Sarah is the center of the center. And so to me, we are kind of the center of our county, and everything comes from the center out. So we are that center where resources can come from the inside out to help people with whatever they need in terms of addiction, mental health, resources. I have really good partnerships with peer support, individuals who are recovering. I have with the law enforcement, with the with just about all the resources that are here in Lake County, and helping individuals who need it and accessing those resources as they need them. So we are here. I also, of course, work with the national from the national perspective with other moms and families across the country who are doing the same work that I'm doing. So we stay connected, and we do what we can. So
Yeah, and peer support has turned into a huge thing. I
sure.
mean, I know it's huge right now in all the police departments and the wellness. Back when I was on the police department, that honestly wasn't something that I would have ever thought would have come into nutrition, but it really has, and it's so important. And there's so many resources out there for everybody. And what you've done with yourself and your organization, and has turned your grief around into just something so giving and healing, not only to yourself but to the community, is just nothing but, it's just beautiful, Patty. It really is.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to say to anybody else that might be interested in getting involved like this in their own communities?
Well, one of the things I think is really helpful for anyone who is having difficulty with any type of mental health or feeling this isolation is to do something for the community. Anything, whether that's helping at the food bank or any mental health, or find something to volunteer. I mean, we do have a group that does mindfulness activities where we do arts and crafts. And so do something to volunteer to help others, because when we can do something outside of ourselves and move ourselves out of the way, it's so healing for our own soul. And I do that outside of this work for another agency so that I can give back in a different way. And so whatever that looks like for you, if you're grieving or just dealing with anything in your life, go out there and volunteer for someone else.
And I think that's definitely part of the self-care we were talking about, for sure. Self-care is so important for anybody that has been involved in this, anybody that has suffered such a great loss. You've got to take care of yourself before you can ever take care of others.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know this has been a really heavy topic for sure, but I wanted to lighten it up a bit as we're getting ready to close this out, because I was doing some research, and how did I not know that you were an award-winning cake artist? How did I not know that?
I don't know. Yes, I was. So, yes, I did that for a good probably 8 years. I was a cake artist up until Sarah passed, and then, grief kinda took me down for a while, but I was on Netflix.
That is so cool. That's just so cool. What's your favorite, the best cake you made?
Probably, I loved making wedding cakes and sugar flowers. So I've traveled all across the world pretty much, Europe and competed just about everywhere. But it was very relaxing for me, and um, I've made a lot of cakes. Trust me, I've made a lot of very, very cool high-end cakes.
Well, I just love that fact. That was such a fun fact. And you've been on Netflix. Go figure with the cakes.
I won Sugar Rush first season.
You won. Well, there we
Yep.
have it. That's why you're an award winner. I love that. So, for my last question, I would like to know what's one of the most important things you have learned on your spiritual journey?
Probably that, oh goodness. I've learned so many things on my spiritual journey. Um, oh, wow. That's a big question. Uh, I am so grateful. I am so very grateful in my spiritual journey. You know, our loved ones are just always there. I am so blessed. My relationship with Sarah is sometimes I ask her, could she slow down a little bit because we're so busy. But I feel like, oh my goodness. I don't know if there's really one thing that I could particularly say is that, God is good, uh, is great, and my guides are amazing, and my relationships with myself has, you know, in my darkest hours has just really been uh, growing for me over the years. My losses have been my gains, because I've learned so much about myself in those dark times. And so sitting in those dark moments are so uncomfortable and so difficult. But if you can do that, that's when you grow the most, from your soul and your heart. Trust your journey, embrace all that you can, um, because that's what helps you grow the most. Oh my God, do you see that?
I was almost gonna comment about Sarah singing and symbols too.
That light, I just got dark. My grandchildren were born 2 years, 2 days, and 2 hours apart, and I see the number 222 in everything that I do. Um, at my phones, on my clocks, on my receipts, on my everything. So trust that what you see is your loved ones sending you love signs, and they're not like these grand gestures. Sometimes they're very subtle, and sometimes they're those most amazing things. One of my favorite things I say sometimes, like if you're driving in the car and you feel like someone's sitting in your passenger seat, they absolutely are, uh,
Exactly.
with you. And so feel, um, feel more, think less, um, you know, uh, and just trust.
Yeah,
Just trust in your journey, because you're here for a reason, to do something amazing.
absolutely. See, you worked through that and it was absolutely beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. I truly appreciate you taking the time to talk with us this evening. If anybody has any questions or comments for Patty, please put them in the comment section, and we'll read them and get back with you. Thank you so very much for joining me this evening. The website again, soundsofsarah.org.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any other website or is that it?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, and hopefully you'll get to Lily Dell again soon. I know you love it here also.
I love it there. I'm absolutely going to come back again.
Great. And thank you all for joining us this evening. I'll be back again in 2 weeks for my last episode of Enlightening Your Way. Please check this page, the Lily Dell Assembly page, often for everything. Our season is approaching us very fast and furious. All of the events are up on the Facebook page and our website, so check out everything that's going on in Lily Dell this summer, and we hope to see you. My name is Nancy Lombardo. I am protecting and serving your well-being. Thank you so very much, Patty, again, and thank you all for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Good evening.